Alright, we're going to talk about converting between systems. So, as you can see, it's really a three-step process. The first thing you need to do is memorize the exact values of all of the pharmaceutical conversion factors. I'll show those again on the next slide. There is a downloadable PDF document on the course page. It's under pharmaceutical conversion factors. We use the same method to convert between all of the systems, and even a number of other of the pharmaceutical conversions that we'll do in this chapter. So we cross, multiply, and divide. I'm going to show you how to do that specifically in this presentation, as well as in the course module. You'll see it over and over and over again. You're going to need to write out your units as you do these conversions. You want to carry your units over, and you want to make sure to always know what the number is that you have. What I mean by that is if you're left with 17, you need to know 17 what? 17 milligrams, 17 grams, 17 grains. It's really important to keep track of your units throughout your conversions. So here are pharmaceutical conversion factors. Like I said, you'll need to memorize these. There's no way I can ingrain them into your brain there. So you're going to have to memorize them. So we have 100 units is 1 ml, 20 drops is 1 ml, 1 cubic centimeter, it can be written as 1 centimeter cubed, is the same as 1 ml. 1 teaspoon is 5 mLs, 1 tablespoon is 15 mLs. This crazy figure and this crazy other figure down here is another way of writing teaspoon. Down here it's another way of writing fluid ounce. The abbreviation for fluid ounce is FLOZ. 1 fluid ounce is 29.57 milliliters. 1 pint is 473 milliliters. 1 quart is 946 milliliters, or 2 pints. 1 liter is 1,000 milliliters. 1 gallon is 3,784 milliliters, or 4 quarts. 1 microgram, it can be written like this, 1,000 micrograms is 1 milligram. 64.8 milligrams is 1 grain. Remember, grain is GR, gram is just G or GM. 1,000 milligrams is a gram. We learned that in the metric system. 28.35 grams is 1 ounce. 454.54 repeating grams is 1 pound. 1,000 grams is 1 kilogram, and 2.2 pounds is also 1 kilogram. So when you look at the PDF document for pharmaceutical conversion factors, you're going to see on there some approximate values. It's important to know these approximate values, but when you're carrying out a calculation, you want to use the exact measure. It's one thing to round things at the end, or even to round things for a total quantity. I know that doesn't seem that specific or that obvious. Let me try to explain it a little bit better. If a doctor were to write for 4 fluid ounces, you could dispense 4 fluid ounces, meaning 4 times 30 milliliters. You don't necessarily need to try to dispense 4 times 29.57 milliliters. The reason being is it's one thing to give somebody too much product, but it's another thing to give somebody a product with the wrong concentration. So when you're determining like dose or exactly how much of a solute will go in your solvent, you need to use exact measurements. So let's start with this first conversion here. It's a fairly straightforward, simple one. 2 milliliters is equal to how many drops? So first thing we need to do is to cross multiply and divide. So we need to set up our cross multiplication table here. Basically, you set 2 fractions equal to one another. So you know, and you're going to put your conversion on the left side, you know every 1 milliliter is equal to 20 drops. So if you have 2 milliliters, how many drops would that be? You're then going to cross multiply 2 times 20. That'll give you 40. And you divide 1. So cross multiply and then divide. So our answer is 40 drops. A lot of people ask me, they say, why do you divide by 1 or why do you multiply by 1? It's important to just follow the method. Trust me, you'll be a lot better off simply dividing by 1 or multiplying by 1 than trying to shortcut these things. You'll end up multiplying when you need to be dividing otherwise. Alright, so our next problem here is 3 fluid ounces equal how many milliliters? So again, set up our proportion. We know that 1 fluid ounce is 29.57 milliliters. Here we have 3 fluid ounces. How many milliliters would that be? So you'll take 3 times 29.57 milliliters is equal to 88.71 milliliters. But again, we're not done. We cross multiply and then divide. Divide by 1 gives you 88.71 milliliters. A lot of people are going to look at this and say, okay, I thought a fluid ounce was equal to 30 milliliters. Well, a fluid ounce is approximately 30 milliliters. If you notice that on your answer choices, you don't have 88.71, but you have 90 milliliters, that is the most correct answer. So you would choose that one. And remember your units, 88.71 milliliters. Alright, so now we have 17.6 pounds equals how many kilograms? Alright, so set up your proportion. You know that 2.2 pounds is 1 kilogram. Here you have 17.6 pounds. And how many kilograms would that be? So you're going to cross multiply 17.6 times 1 gives you 17.6. Divide 2.2 equals 8 kilograms. So our answer is 8. Now here you'll notice that when we cross multiplied, we said 17.6 times 1. This is what I was talking about before. You can't shortcut these things by just multiplying or dividing. It's important to set it up so you know when to basically divide and when to multiply. Alright, so here we have 2 quarts equals how many cc's? Well, we know that 1 quart is equal to, remember, cc's and milliliters are the same thing, 946 milliliters. We have 2 quarts, so how many milliliters would that be? 2 times 946 is equal to 1892, and then we're going to take that and divide by 1. We get 1892 milliliters. Remember, milliliters and cc's are the same thing, so 2 quarts is equal to 1892 milliliters. Alright, so remember, cubic centimeters, cc's, milliliters, all the same thing. So let's set up our proportion. we know that every 1 pint is equal to 473 milliliters. Let's carry our units over. And we have 200 milliliters is equal to how many pints? So 200 times 1 is 200. Divide by 473, 473. And that's going to give us a really funky decimal. It's 0.423 pints. So 200 centimeters cubed, or 200 cubic centimeters, or 200 milliliters is equal to 0.423 pints. Alright, now we have 10 grains. Remember, GR is grains, not grams. If I wanted to represent grams, I would use a G or a GM. So 10 grains is equal to how many milligrams? Well, I know that every 1 grain is equal to 64.8 milligrams. Carry my units over here. I need to know how many milligrams I have. I have 10 grains, so I'm going to take 10 grains times 64.8 milligrams. It's going to give me 648. Divide 1, 648 milligrams. 10 grains is equal to 648 milligrams. Okay, so two-step conversions are just an additional step to what you've just done. So these problems aren't going to have a handy-dandy conversion that's going to go right from one to the other. You're going to have to think of an intermediary, some unit that you can convert what you have to, and then you can take that unit and find what you need. So basically you just run 2 cross multiplication and divisions back to back. Let's take a look. Alright, so on this one I'm going to have to go from tablespoon to drops, but I don't have any sort of handy-dandy way of going from tablespoon to drops. How am I going to get there? I can convert tablespoons to milliliters and then milliliters to drops, right? In fact, I don't even have to do a conversion for the first part because I know how many milliliters there are in 1 tablespoon. But let me just write this out. I'm going to go from tablespoons to milliliters to drops. Well, I know that 1 tablespoon is equal to 15 milliliters, right? So now I just need to go from milliliters to drops. So if I go 20 drops in every 1 ml, and I have 15 mLs, right? How many drops would that be? So to solve, cross multiply. 15 times 20 is equal to 300. 300 divided 1 is 300. So I know there are 300 drops in every 1 tablespoon. Let's work that through again to make sure that you understand. I can't go directly from tablespoon to drops because there's no conversion for it. Or if there is, I don't know it. So what I need to do is find an intermediary. The intermediary I chose here, and a very common intermediary, is milliliters. So I converted my 1 tablespoon to milliliters. I didn't have to set up a cross multiply and divide proportion to do that because I know straight up 1 tablespoon is 15 milliliters. Alright, so I then need to go from milliliters to drops, right? Milliliters to drops. So I put my conversion here. 20 drops is to 1 milliliter, as X drops is to 15 mLs, aka 1 tablespoon. Cross multiply. 15 times 20 equals 300. Divide 1 equals 300 drops.